Welcome to Mind Your Heart podcast, your favorite corner of the internet where we chat about all things mental health. I'm Emily.
And I'm Trina. Together, we're like your real life Lorelai and Rory Gilmore. Each week, we'll bring you real conversations about the world of mental health, and we will peel back layers on topics like anxiety, depression, and much more.
We're here to chat with you about the tough stuff, the everyday stuff, and everything in between. So grab your emotional support water bottle, I know we have ours, find your comfiest chair, or keep your eyes on the road, and let's get into it. Are you ready, Mom?
Absolutely. Join us as we mind our hearts and hopefully make minding yours a little easier. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I think we were off a week.
What do you mean?
I feel like we were late for 2 weeks because I messed it up, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, also, we hit 750 downloads.
I saw that. Did I send you that or did you see that?
No, I saw it. I got an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, woo!
Yeah, that's good. That's exciting.
I think so too.
I feel like the most we've got is like 50. So 750 it feels like a boost.
I thought so too. I was like, really?
Yeah. Thought the same thing.
Okay. So today we have a hormone. We have
one individual hormone.
Yes, we have a hormone. We have an episode about hormones because I have recently been doing some massive research and I am on a soapbox. So,
Yeah. I would also like to preface this episode that we are not experts in the realm of hormones or medical advice. So,
however, I have been called a doctor before.
but that does not mean that you are a doctor.
No, I am not a doctor.
Or licensed or qualified to give medical information or advice. So,
that is true.
if you can,
I've only taken anatomy, physiology 1 and 2. I didn't go to nursing school.
for your credits. So take this information with what you will.
Yes. And I was only called a doctor as a sarcastic name because I often researched medical advice.
Well, and because you often diagnose
Yes.
pre-doctor visit. But I will say, regardless of you not being a doctor, 9 times out of 10, you're pretty spot on.
Yes, I am. And the other thing is, and this is what I've learned with most things, is that you have to advocate for yourself.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is the huge key. And that you have to do all the background research, whether you're dealing with your doctor or an attorney or anyone else for that matter, because it seems as if the legwork is not being done by some people. And some people are very open. So I don't mean to generalize. Like some doctors and even some attorneys are very open to, learning and listening and whatever. But then there are some people that are just like, well, that's not it. And that is frustrating. All right, so let's jump into the hormone situation. I, I went through menopause young, pretty young. I mean, I was 47, which is right on the line of menopause, like them calling that too young. But I really think that often women don't realize, and even doctors, because I will say this about the medical community, they get an hour of menopause training in their residency.
What?
Yeah, an hour.
That's it?
That's
their whole entire residency?
Yes. So they don't know a lot about this. And I am not just guessing this. This is information. I listened to several podcasts, which I'm going to share in the show notes. One of them's called Not You're Not Broken, which was an excellent podcast. And she is a urologist who was doing a conference for other medical professionals. And she was sharing that with other medical professionals. And she's like, I know we only had an hour of menopause training.
That's
And
crazy.
it was crazy. So it wasn't like she was just guessing. She was like giving information. And
It's
then
crazy, but it's not surprising
yeah,
because the lack of information that goes on around women's health in healthcare in general is disturbing.
it really is disturbing because, and I'm going to use this example, which is a very blatant answer, but our example, but if we were to tell men that their penis was going to shrivel up, it
Mm-hmm.
would be a medical emergency. We would
Oh
have a
yeah,
national emergency on our hands.
for sure.
But if you tell a woman that your vagina is atrophying, which is basically dry and dying inside, nothing happens. Like you're
Yeah.
like, well, you can use some Vagisil. You could try or estrogen, or vaginal estrogen, but
Yeah.
so it is really shocking. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, so when I was going through, I didn't realize at the time that when I was going through menopause, oh, I realized I had all the things. I had
Yeah.
massive hot flashes. I didn't want anyone to touch me. I thought I was on fire from the inside. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to scream. I wanted to murder people. I've never been so angry or sad or disturbed in my life. I mean, I was past divorce, but I remember thinking, if we hadn't just gotten divorced, we would have gotten a divorce because I couldn't handle anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
I
felt
don't
like
remember that. Like I don't
it
remember
was
like
when I was at Daughtry. It was when I was teaching
oh,
at which I shouldn't have said out loud, but anyway, it was teaching at a school in my district, and it was I
gotcha.
felt like I was in hell, like
Yeah.
actual hell. Not only I like it was I was already leading up with perimenopause. I had very bad periods, if you remember
Yeah, I
that.
do remember that.
Yeah, and that I mean they were so bad that it was like I had to use two Super Plus at one time, and it would
Yeah.
only last for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
And
I
that was
recall.
still when I was in the classroom. And
Yeah.
that was when I was getting divorced. And then
Yeah,
so I
because I was at the other school.
yeah, that was at their school. And I had to take a medication that actually reduced the amount of bleeding because it was just so out of control. I
Yeah.
mean, I had to have extra clothes at school. I had to have a procedure with my students so I could go to the bathroom. Sometimes I'd have to call through the door to my student teacher and have him go get a colleague because it was like out of control in the
Yeah.
bathroom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding out. Like
Yeah.
it was intense.
Yeah.
Um, so bad that when I was looking for a car, I went car shopping. Do you remember?
Oh, I remember this.
Oh
Yes,
my
I do.
gosh. I had my two friends with me and we were like, we went to this car place and the guy was insane. He ended up taking us on he did the test drive. He didn't let me test drive. He test drove and then he like wanted
So
to
dumb.
show us how fast the car would go in circles. So we were doing like donuts in a parking lot and then he was slamming on the brakes. I've never been so scared in my
What
life.
an idiot.
It was insane. But in the meantime, I was bleeding like crazy. And I went to go to the bathroom and I had like bled through my pants. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm in the bathroom. I don't know if maybe I was texting. Um, but my friends were like out there with the sales guy,
Yeah.
just chatting away.
Yeah.
And I was in the bathroom for a very long time.
It was, I will say though, like the people that you were with were two very patient people.
Yeah. Hmm.
So like it was like the perfect people for you to have been
Absolutely.
with at
But
that
they
time.
were like, what's going on? And so
Yeah.
I had to take my pants off and wash them in the sink and put them back on. And then finally someone came to check on me. I'm like, for gosh sakes, I don't think I had my phone. I think that was the problem.
Mm.
And I'm like, what do I do? And I had this shirt over the top of like this flesh colored tank top. And I had to take the top shirt off and wrap it around my waist like a apron because
Yeah.
the blood was in the front too for some reason. And so I had to walk through the dealership with a flesh colored tank top. I looked naked with
Yeah.
my apron shirt and it was so
Well,
bad.
and then like you did end up getting a car and there was blood on the seat, on the driver's seat
You're
when you
right.
got home.
That was when I did end up getting that Kia. Yeah.
Yeah, because
My
one
brand
of
new
the
car.
people called
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
and was like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get some warm water and put some salt in it and then a little bit of like peroxide and like put it in a spray bottle. And so when we get home right away, you got to come out and spray this stuff and like get a towel. And so like it
It was
came
a
right
mess.
out.
Yeah.
It literally came right out with that. But it was like you were like upset and I was like, I'm ready. Like you came home and I was like, I got the spray bottle and my rag, like ready
I
to
don't even
go.
remember that. I just know that perimenopause was hell. And that's really when it starts, because what happens is, and this is the like part that I listen to on these podcasts, this
Yeah.
scientific part, was that like your hormone level, let's say your estrogen level is like at a 50, and then during perimenopause it's at a 50 one day, and then the next day it might be 0, and the next day it might be 1,000, and the peaks of it are so
Jeez.
extreme for your
Yeah.
body that you like feel like you're going crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and which is a really frustrating thing. And also
Yeah.
I didn't realize when I was officially like going, like I my period had stopped, that your hormones like start to totally shut off, and
Yeah.
then you are no longer, and we need our hormones for our skin, the
Mm-hmm.
our skin tone, our skin elasticity, the moisture in your skin, moisture in your all of your body, and in your, especially in your vagina. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be really descriptive in this episode. So um and you also need it for your bone strength. You need it for everything. And you
Yeah.
just don't realize how crucial it is. And at that point, I was like, divorced and not having sex. So
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. Oh well, my vagina's dying. Oh well. I
Yeah.
was already told I was cold and dead inside, so I guess I am. And, so it was like
Yeah.
that, it was a part of, it was something that someone had already said about me. So I kind of like, well, I guess this is medical evidence that that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
That's
so
terrible.
it's terrible. And so I just didn't care. I didn't think of it. And then I got osteopenia, which is the beginning of osteoporosis. And I was like, oh crap. And like all these other things happened that I thought were part of my like autoimmune stuff.
Yeah.
And also
Can
I
you
was
explain what osteopenia is? Because I have no idea.
okay, so osteopenia is like the breakdown of like your bones, and
Mm-hmm.
and it will impact your spine, your hips, your knees, like it
Oh,
yeah. So it's like can be
is that
worse.
genetic?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
it can be worse in certain parts of your body. And the worst part is if you have osteopenia that develops into osteoporosis, like you can't have like a hip replacement. They won't replace, yeah,
Oh,
so you are like screwed. So the ways to stop that, or to actually reverse it, you can reverse it. That's what my hormone person told me, which I'll get to in a second. But you want to do weight bearing exercise. You want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. You want to make sure you're getting enough calcium. You want to make sure, iron, all those things are really important.
mm-hmm.
And the weight bearing is one of the most important things to do. And I do all of that. I do all the things they say that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 40, what was I like, maybe 50 when they told me I had osteopenia. And I'm like, well, and they were like, we have to watch it and see how fast it progresses, which I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, because the most bone loss happens in the very beginning after you've not had your period for a year.
Yeah.
And so they have to determine like how fast it's going. And they're like, well, there are things we can do, but they don't do it when you're in osteopenia, which makes no sense. And so, and osteoporosis makes it more likely that you're going to fracture or break something. So
Yeah.
when you hear about people like breaking a hip and dying, and
Yeah.
and in like all these things, this is like a common thing that can happen. But when you are like, you can maybe accept that when you're 70, but I would still wouldn't accept that. But when you're,
Yeah.
47 or 50, like that, you've just got a long way to go. And
Yeah.
honestly, that is something that has been really shocking to me, is that I kind of have come to terms with like, okay, my kids are, I was going to say launched, but now my son is back. So, um, my kids,
Halfway.
they can function mostly without me. I guess this is like the beginning of the end. And because
That's terrible.
well, because it feels like if I'm going to age at this rate, there's no way I can carry this body around for another 30 years. Like it feels impossible to me.
Hmm.
And because the moment I turned 40, it was like arthritis. The moment I turned 50,
Yeah.
it's like osteopenia, menopause, depression, weight gain, like the list goes on and on and on. And the depression got worse, like just,
Yeah.
even in the last couple of years. And I already know I have a low serotonin level, so that's like a given. But when you're not making estrogen and progesterone,
Yeah. It's worse.
it's worse. And so they up your antidepressant, and and so then you start having another thing that happens is, people don't know this, because a lot of people don't even know how, like, what how your vagina is made up, but your urethra is part of your vagina, and
Mm-hmm.
it's part of the muscle and tissue of your vagina. And so when that starts to atrophy or be dry because of lack of hormone, then you start it like the whole of your urethra starts like getting smaller. So then you start getting frequent urinary tract infections because you're not letting your pee go all the way out. And actually, people die of UTIs, which I did not know. Yes, I learned that on these podcasts. And they actually said that they would be able to wipe out the deficit if they could just give women over 65 on Medicare vaginal estrogen. If they could just give women vaginal estrogen, it would eliminate all the UTIs. It would not just vaginal estrogen that you put up there, you also have to have like a cream on the
Yeah.
urethra, because the up there does everything else for
Yeah.
everything else, but it doesn't touch the urethra. So
Yeah.
so you have to do it on the urethra as well. And it can eliminate like frequent getting up and going to the bathroom. And it actually makes you completely pee when you need to pee, not hold up a little bit more inside,
Yeah.
which is what causes bacteria and infection.
Mm-hmm.
So I also take cranberry pills. Like I was doing all these things because I did start getting UTIs, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I started taking cranberry pills, and I'm like, "Okay, so I'm trying to be proactive." And really the thing that, like, I'm like, I'll just deal with all these symptoms, and the hot flashes are not what they used to be. And when I when I met with the hormone lady, actually, I will be honest, the thing that has pushed me to the brink is the weight gain,
Mm.
because in the last like 6 months, I'm like, what is happening? It's like I feel I'm like just packing on weight, and I'm like, I don't understand what is happening here. And I'm like, I can't get a hold of this. Like I had at one point hit a weight that I was when I was pregnant, and I'm like, this is upsetting to me because
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel, and also all I wanted to eat was pudding. I just wanted sugar all the time. It felt like an addiction. It felt like people, when they need to have a glass of wine every night to unwind, that's what I felt like. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I could just get to that nightly pudding, I will have like my
Good.
everything will be fine. I will
Yeah.
feel, it was like taking Xanax. It was like, ah. And I'm like, this is not a healthy situation. But
Yeah.
the thing is that to gain the amount of weight that I've gained in the short amount of time that I've gained it, I would have to be eating pudding nonstop. And I
Yeah.
wasn't. So,
Yeah.
and I also work out 6 days a week. And
Yeah.
and I eat healthy all the rest of the meals.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is not making sense. And people
Mm-hmm.
weren't listening. And that's the problem, is that they're like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. You don't, you eat one thing and you gain 10 pounds. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And and then I found out the culprit of that, and this is when I get on my soy soapbox, is soy.
Mm.
And so what happened is I had to change cranberry pills, and I got some that accidentally had soy. And I had to change vitamins because my favorite company, Goop, stopped producing them, which those have made me feel so much better for so long that I'm like, I have begged them to please make them again.
Yeah.
And I found this company that said that they were soy free. They were more expensive than Goop. They're supposed to be a personal vitamin brand.
Mm-hmm.
They gave you a personal plan, and then they have soy. They use a high quality soy called lectin or whatever, and they're like, it shouldn't affect most people. Well, it does. It's still
Yeah.
soy.
People who are also allergic to soy
Yeah.
should know that. Like, what company was this that said this?
Persona.
Persona. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm like, and see, most people don't even realize the disruptor, the hormone disruptor that soy is. And soy is
Yeah.
so many foods. And if I get like a certain
Yes.
amount of soy, I can have like every once in a while, a cookie or whatever, and not,
Hmm.
it's not the end of the world. But if it like keeps building on itself, then all
Hmm.
of a sudden it's like I eat one thing and I gain 10 pounds. It is like, and it's that bloated, like holding water kind of look
Yeah.
that I actually got when I was on birth control. So I was like, oh my gosh. And so and it's soy. And so soy, and the other part is that some hormones are even made with soy. And I'm like, what? How are you making a hormone for a female using soy? When soy is a hormone disruptor, it mimics estrogen, except for not the kind of estrogen in your body, but like, what? So it
Yeah.
just makes me so mad. There's so many things that make me so frustrated with what we're doing to women and how we just don't know, or
Yeah.
that we just don't care and we're just it's the cheaper alternative, so we're going to use soy. I had to specifically ask the pharmacy for for the peanut oil one
Mm.
rather than the one with soy.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy, and I feel like I've lost track of what I was saying. So I did this research. I listened to these podcasts. They were talking about how all these doctors should know about it, how your rheumatologist should know about it, your general practitioner, your psychiatrist, your gynecologist. All of these people should know because a lot of these symptoms, joint issues, dry skin, dry eyes, dry mouth, dry, all of these things can be hormone related.
Hmm.
And so all of these things that we think are one thing could actually be that your hormones aren't regulated. If you
Yeah.
gain weight in a short amount of time and it's a significant amount, can be hormone related. If you all these things. And so it's like, which lead to
Yeah.
other
Problems.
issues.
Hmm.
And so I researched and I was like, okay, I need, because there, like I said, barely any training. So I found people that were certified in menopause, like they're menopause certified. So they
Yeah.
actually have more training in menopause or
Then one
midlife.
hour.
Yes. And or they're another type of doctor that also can qualify is a doctor who specializes in sex and whatever, because
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like when your hormones aren't regulated, you really don't care about having
Yeah.
sex, which is right now I'm like, well, that's fine. But do you want to never care about having sex? And also that is something that, I probably felt even in my marriage. And it's
Yeah.
like when you don't have any testosterone, which women are supposed to have, then
Hmm.
it's your libido can be like completely shot. And that's even
Yeah.
true for men. Like men's testosterone level also fluctuates, and when theirs is low, the same thing can happen to them.
Hmm.
And so, and we've done things for men like Viagra, but we've done nothing for women. And
Yeah.
also testosterone isn't even FDA approved for women. So you have it's it's like, oh, it makes me so mad. So anyway, so so then I was like searching. I went to ChatGPT and I went to the deep research of ChatGPT, not just your regular free version, but this is the one that people pay $200 a month for. I pay 20, but you get a certain number of deep research.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did my deep research on hormones and I was like, this is the kind of doctor that I want. I want them to be specialized in this or this. I want them to have maybe even heard of these people, Rachel Rubin, which is a huge advocate for hormone replacement therapy. And she is also a neurologist. And I've heard her speak on many podcasts. She's excellent. So that's a person I would recommend for sure. And I'm like, and so I listed all this stuff, and then they came back with these experts that are most of them were in Tampa, and they were like these people will do this, these people. And then one of the things they said about the person that I picked, which was Dr. Reyes, was that she also gave testosterone. Like she wasn't opposed to testosterone, which some people are.
Or
And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't seem like it's well balanced because the
yeah.
three hormones that women, progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone, like
Yeah.
all need to be leveled out. And
Yeah.
so so the first initial consultation with her is expensive. It's very expensive, and your insurance doesn't cover it. And
Of course.
and thankfully my mom stepped in, which I really appreciate because that's the thing. Like most people can't afford to
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's $450 for the initial visit and then 250 every follow-up. And then the
Hmm.
medication was another like 250. So it is a very expensive.
Yeah, it's not feasible for like
No.
just your average person.
And like your insurance, like mine, it was like your copay is, $90 and $80. And I'm like, I can't do this. I
Yeah.
thought it was monthly, but it was for 3 months. So I was like, okay, next time I'll just have them give it to me in a month at a time because then it will be
But there's
affordable.
also a prescription website called Cost Plus Drugs, by Mark Cuban, where they're you basically are like just paying for the actual cost of the drug instead of the like upsell or
Yeah.
whatever that they charge you from like pharmacies. So, and that this applies to any prescription. So if anyone out there is like, "Oh, I have a prescription and it's so expensive I can't afford it." Look up Cost Plus Drugs. Um,
GoodRx didn't work for this, so I'm going to try Cost Plus Drugs.
Cost Plus
They
Drugs
did.
is better because GoodRx gives you a discount, but Cost Plus Drugs is literally just the cost of
Okay, I
the
did not know
original
that.
drug.
They did have another discount card, and my doctor also gave me a discount card, but that
Yeah.
didn't reduce it. It was actually less with my insurance. But they did get one of the things down. But I'm like, I made them run everything under a discount because I'm like, I'm not paying 90. I'm not paying it. What it would have been was $450.
Yeah.
So I
It's
got it
insane.
down to 250, which I thought was still a lot.
Yeah.
But that's for 3 months. That's a three
That's
week
still a
supply.
lot.
It's still a lot. So I'm gonna now that I know exactly what they are, I'm gonna, look into cost plus drugs. But
Yeah.
I felt I was really calm, but I was like getting frustrated at the pharmacy. The other thing
Yeah.
is the pharmacy's like, why is she prescribing all of this? And so the point is after talking, Dr. Reyes gave me an hour. Like we sat there for an hour and I told her about all of my symptoms and
Hmm.
all of my medical history. And she had copies of my blood work that I had sent in advance. And I need to give her my bone density. I keep forgetting. And then and I filled out this extensive questionnaire and all these different things. And she's like, we can't just start you. You probably have zero hormones.
Yeah.
She's like, we can't start you at a beginning level. We need to
Hmm.
start you at a moderate level. And so like she's like, no matter what, the vaginal estrogen and the cream or whatever will like at least bring that back to life and you won't have like excessive dryness,
Yeah.
which is kind of a game changer because that dryness can be very uncomfortable.
I was gonna say
And
that's
if you're
very.
having sex and you're having painful sex,
Oof.
because I can't
I
even,
can't imagine
no,
having sex with it completely dry like
no,
that.
no, exactly. Yeah. So, um, I mean, it's like, yeah. So anyway, so I've been taking that for, what has it been? Only a week, and that already feels better. And that's
Yeah.
something that you have to continue doing. Like if you stop, it's going to go right back to being dry
Yeah.
and atrophy. But but now it's come back to life. Woohoo!
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, let's have a birthday party. So anyway, so then the next step is I had to have blood work and I just had that done yesterday. So I have to wait for the results and then I'll start taking they give you there's like options. You can do like an estrogen patch. They want to do subdermal like on your skin
Hmm.
because there was a study that came out in like the 2000s that scared everyone to death about hormones saying it was linked to breast cancer and that has been found to be significantly inaccurate or not significantly what's the word
Like
statistically
research.
significant
Mm.
and so it is but they still have that wording on the packaging. They won't take the wording off the packaging so people are like they still have to read this may cause cancer
Yeah.
and which is very alarming and so
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah
But
but
also, the thing about that is too, is that every freaking thing in the world, or at least if you're in America, everything should have that on it, may
Yeah.
cause cancer, because everything's produced with heavy amounts of plastic and a whole bunch of other shit that we
And
don't.
also, if they think estrogen, taking oral estrogen can cause cancer, that would mean that soy could cause cancer.
Hmm.
So that's my question is why aren't you writing that on your
On
soy
all the
product?
food that are is
Yeah.
in the grocery store, because everything has soy in it.
So anyway, but she's like, you don't just take when you take estrogen by itself, especially orally, then it can be linked to breast cancer. But if you are taking it subdermally, which means on your skin, either through a patch or through a cream or through a gel, and I didn't want to do the patch because I'm like, I like to go to hot yoga sometimes, and I don't want to. I hate sticky. Blech. And so I'm gonna do a gel on your leg, and then you take an oral progesterone, but you take those together. You're not taking progesterone without estrogen. You're not taking
Yeah.
estrogen without progesterone. And then we'll see like where my levels are. And then if we need to add the testosterone, then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So I just felt like she was like, this is what we're going to do, da, 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 da. And she was like not opposed to start. She didn't like have a certain regimen that she has to do for everyone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She
Like it
was,
was customized to the
yes.
person. Yeah.
Yes. So it was like, I'm excited to see. And also now that I figured out that the soy was in my vitamins and I've stopped taking that for the last couple of weeks, weight has
I'm
come
so
off.
mad about that.
Yeah.
Like when you told me that, and the fact that they're like, from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you allowed to put no soy when
Yeah.
there is a soy-based product in your product? Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense, because isn't there like there's food and drug regulations where like if something is gluten, soy, or dairy
Yeah.
free, like
But I think they think because you don't, even the doctor at first was like, well, the progesterone can be made with soy. And she's like, do you have like, can you breathe? And I was like, what? And at first I got mad about that for a second. I'm like, so my severity has to be that I can't breathe.
that I'm dying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, actually, it's like I'm talking about like 10 pounds gained in a day. And she's
Hmm.
like, oh, no, no, no. She's like, we got to get the peanut one. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not taking my chances here with soy. So
Yeah.
anyway, so weight has like, that's gotten better, thank goodness, just
Mhm.
eliminating the soy.
Yeah.
So, but so
I
I'm,
just
I'm
don't
excited.
understand how they can put that on the
No,
pack.
I can't either. I don't either. The other thing is that can happen is that you can't sleep. Like when your hormones are messed up, you
Hmm.
can't sleep. So then you can't sleep. That leads to a bunch of other issues. And then the whole like even possibly the ADD thing, she's like a lot of people are being, diagnosed with ADD as an adult, but it may not be actually ADD. It can be hormone based because the brain fog is
Yeah.
unbelievable. And
Hmm.
so it's like, you're taking medicine to go to sleep, you're taking medicine to be awake, you're taking medicine to concentrate. It's like, so
Yeah.
my hope is to like level my hormone. Another thing that happens is your body tries to make estrogen. That's part of the reason why you gain weight because it like gets it
Builds it
from
up.
fat.
Yeah.
Like when you store fat, it tries to get like bad estrogen. It's trying to
Hmm.
do anything to get,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's really interesting. But she's like, she's can't wait to see like how much better I feel.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I can't wait for that either. Like I think it's gonna be exciting
Yeah.
I actually for the first time felt like there was some hope
Yeah.
in aging as opposed to like just shriveling up and being like, oh well, this is it.
Yeah. That's it's sad that that is like that would be your expectation. Like there shouldn't be like that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Like there should be advocacy for women's health from doctors, period.
Yeah.
Not just like that you have to search on the deep web
Yeah.
to find and then like pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars
Yeah.
to see. Like that is just
Again, because if this were men, this would be a totally different story.
yeah, for sure.
That's
Well,
what's so
because it is a
frustrating.
totally different
Yeah,
story.
it is.
Because most of medical research is done based on the male
Yeah,
anatomy.
and now they've just cut more female, more research on women's health with this administration. So then we have that on top of everything else. So it's just, oh, it makes me crazy. But I think it's really important for women to know their bodies and to know like how things work and to understand that some symptoms are not necessarily like some kind of disease or illness that can actually be
Hmm.
a, sign of your hormones being out of whack.
Yeah. And I think it's also important
And
to,
even when you're young, this doesn't have to be like
yeah.
perimenopause, menopause. It can be, I mean, like I even think of that for you sometimes about like having hot flashes at 25, like that can be hormone related,
Hmm. Well, I don't necessarily have hot flashes.
but you get really hot.
Yeah, but that's not like I don't that's not like as much anymore. Like that's not something that really happens anymore. But yeah, it's also is we live in Florida, so like I'm just sweaty.
Okay.
But I don't remember what I was gonna say. You cut me off,
I'm
so
sorry.
it's
I'm sorry.
okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Just
Um,
knowing your body, knowing your knowing.
Oh, I think that it's important for women specifically, but really anyone to know that like it's okay to question your doctors because like while they are quote unquote an expert in their field, they are also still human and they don't have all the information sometimes and ultimately you know your body better than anyone. So if somebody's saying something that doesn't sit right with you or you don't agree with or doesn't feel like it's solving the problem, then keep questioning them. Keep asking them things. And if that pisses them off, go find a different doctor.
I agree. I totally agree. I think that makes so much sense. And I have a friend who I'm like, you're not getting the right answer. Like
It's
she,
hard to do
yeah,
because we're taught to
yeah.
like listen to the
Just listen and then
authority and
that's it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's that like I don't know what societal like pressure of like as women too like
Yeah.
we're like we listen to authority and like that's what we do but like that it doesn't have to be like that because like they're they're there to help you their literal whole entire job is to help you
Mhm.
not to tell to you and to fuel their ego so if something doesn't match up with what's going on with you then you're allowed to speak up. And again, like if that makes a doctor upset or frustrated, then that's just not a person that you should be seeing. And it's okay to break up with a healthcare provider.
Yeah. Yeah, you deserve to have answers.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do not sometimes, you always have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
You just do.
Yep.
Well, thank you for letting me
Get on
share
your soy
my, yeah,
soapbox.
get on my soy soapbox.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Well,
If you have questions or if you've experienced stuff like this, please comment on this episode.
share it with
Yeah.
people, with your other female friends, because
Mhm.
there's such a lack of knowledge
Education.
around this
Yeah.
topic. And find those podcasts that I was talking about. Dr. Rachel Rubin, if you search her on any podcast platform, you will find all the podcasts she's been. She doesn't have a podcast herself. I wish she did, but she's been a guest on a lot because she's really trying to spread the word. And then You Are Not Broken, I think it's called. I can't think of her name, but she's really pushing this information as well. So those are
Yeah.
good places to start.
We'll put them in the description below so you can find those easily. Yeah. All
All
right.
right. Till next time.
Bye.